I get it. You want the house, not a mortgage. The bad news is that you're not going to get the house without a mortgage, unless, of course, you're a cash buyer. You may not even be allowed to look at certain houses until you've been pre-approved by a mortgage lender. The worst thing home buyers can do is to spend their entire weekend driving all over the county, looking at houses, finding the perfect one, falling in love with it, and not getting an offer looked at because they haven't been pre-approved yet. It happens a lot. It's happened twice this week where I've received phone calls from people saying, I found a house, I'm ready to make an offer, my realtor says I need to make a mortgage application. The problem is that both of these individuals are self-employed, and I was not able to crank out a legitimate pre-approval in the 20 minutes they needed it. In both cases, those sellers of the houses accepted offers from other buyers who were already pre-approved. See, they weren't going to sit around and wait for this next person to get their finances in order, because they should have had that in hand already prior to even stepping foot in that house. Now let's talk a little bit about the pre-approval process. It's not a matter of me pulling credit, looking at the score and saying, yep, they're good to go, and signing my name to that letter. We need to verify everything. So first, income. If the person's a salary employee and they've been on the job for decades, then that's really, really easy. We know what their salary is, we know what the income is going to be calculated as. But what if they're self-employed, or what if they have variable income or multiple jobs over the past few years? Things start to get a little bit more tricky and time-consuming in that case. If they're self-employed, we have to review 1 or 2 years worth of tax returns. If they have variable income or multiple jobs, we need to get verifications of employment and income from each of those employers, and HR and payroll departments do not spit these out right away in most cases. It usually takes at least 2 or 3 days to get this info back from employers. We have to verify assets. We need to collect bank statements. What if there's large deposits? Those are going to need to be paper trailed. What if that client is divorced? Well, we need to collect a divorce decree in a lot of cases to determine whether or not they're paying child support, alimony, and what those amounts are, because that's going to impact their debt ratio. So the point I'm trying to make is that a good, legitimate pre-approval takes time and care. Yes, there are lenders out there who will write pre-approval letters without verifying anything or looking at one piece of documentation. I don't, because the last thing I want to happen is for somebody to put up thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars in some cases in non-refundable due diligence deposits, only to find out that they don't actually qualify for the mortgage. Look, I'm going to crank out these pre-approvals as fast as humanly possible, because I understand that speed is so important in real estate and mortgages, but I'm also not going to spit out a crappy pre-approval that may or may not be verified. I want to be darn sure that that pre-approval is ironclad, and if that offer gets accepted, that we're going to close the loan. The last thing I want to talk about is the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. These phrases are pretty much used interchangeably in our industry, but to me, a pre-qualification is a letter from a loan officer stating, yes, I've talked to this person, they've applied with me, I've reviewed their credit, and based on what I'm told, it appears that they qualify. But a pre-qualification to me also means that they haven't necessarily collected the documentation that they need, nor have they verified information. It's just, it sounds good, it looks good, but it hasn't been verified. A pre-approval is saying, yes, I've taken the application, I've pulled credit, I've collected documentation, I've verified their income, I've verified their assets, I've verified their job history. Everything that I see looks good. I even take it a step further. When I write a pre-approval letter, I do a mock title search on the specific house that they're making an offer on. I want to know what that title history looks like. I want to make sure that the house is not violating anti-flip rules if the buyer is using FHA financing. I want to know if it's in a flood zone. I want to know about the condition of the house. I want to make sure that it's reasonably going to meet minimum property requirements. In other words, not only am I looking at the borrower stuff, I do my due diligence on the house itself so I can be reasonably sure, or as sure as I can be, that the house is going to pass the appraisal, inspections, and other things required for the loan. A pre-approval could mean for somebody with more complex income, that self-employed borrower, somebody with multiple revenue streams, or somebody with variable income, that an actual underwriter has even reviewed the file and verified their income for me. So home buyers, please, please, please talk to a mortgage professional before you go out looking at houses. Even if you get declined for the mortgage, you don't want to talk to a loan officer because you're afraid of being told no, you're in the same position you were prior, but you'll have direction on how to go from a no to a yes. That's my 2 cents based on experience. If anybody has any questions or you need a pre-approval yourself, reach out. I would love to talk.